Hi, everybody. Kristen Donahue coming to you for New Consultant Training, Part 4 for the Daring Greatly team. I'm excited to be back with you today, and we are going to focus on some healthy habits, and I'm also going to share with you some of my tips for building a successful business long-term. So first, I want to talk to you about healthy habits. These are things that if you can commit to them consistently over time, you will see good business growth. And really, that's one of the keys to success in this business long-term anyway. It's not about being a rock star and doing amazing things right off the bat. It's about consistently doing the activity that's going to pay you over time. So I want to share with you some habits that if you can get them into your mind early and practice them often, they are going to serve you well in the months and the years to come. The first healthy habit is to make sure that you have set your hours of operation. Now, you may have heard about this before on some of our other trainings, but at this point, you've been in here a little while now, you've done a few trainings, it's time to make it a reality. And the most successful consultants do this all the time, ongoing. They commit to their hours of operation. So what does that mean? Well, it means, first of all, look at your week and decide when you're going to be able to work that week and set that time aside. Now, for some of us, that might be a consistent time every week. For others, life is busy, and every week we have to look at it and say, when am I going to fit this in? So whatever it is for you, I want to make sure that you spend a little time each week blocking off your Rodan and Fields work hours. So think about this in terms of a real job. If you had a job with a boss, would you tell your boss, I can't work this week, I've got dishes in my sink? Or, I'm not going to be able to work this week, it's the first week of school. Would you tell your boss, I can't work this week, I'm just kind of tired? No, we would never give those excuses to a real boss. So don't give those excuses to yourself. No matter what, week in, week out, you got to find some time to work this business. Another component of having hours of operation is using those hours wisely. In the beginning, 90% of your time should be spent on income-producing activity. Making phone calls, making reach outs, messaging new people, texting new people, sitting down with new people for one-to-one meetings, getting on three-way calls with your prospects. That's all income producing, and that's where almost all of your time should go. Now, it's tempting in the beginning. We want to read everything we can find. We want to poke around in Pulse and figure it out. We want to surf through Facebook and see what else everybody's shown us. We want to look through the documents in the Facebook groups and see what else we can learn. That will not pay you. So not just committing to your business hours, but committing to income producing activity for 90% of those hours. After that, 5% of your time can be spent on admin. Admin would be things like talking to your current customers, checking in on them, sending thank you notes, things like that, just basic admin tasks. And then 5% of your time every week should be spent on training and development. Professional development for you, listening to training calls, reading a good training and development book, stuff that's going to help you grow. Now, as your teams grow, you can use your income producing activity, you can reduce that just a little bit down to about 80% of your time. And you could use that extra 10% to put hours towards supporting your team. But that really should not happen until you have a pretty large team that's growing. And even now, with a team of hundreds of people all over the country, I still spend the vast majority of my time on my own activity and my own growth because that's still important. So really, we refer to it as paying yourself first. When you sit down at your computer and you're getting ready to work for the day, you want to make sure that your time is spent first and foremost on your own prospecting and your own follow-up. A next healthy habit is to use Sunday as a training and planning night. There's some great calls that happen every Sunday night, so committing to those is a great way to start your week off. But even more important, I use Sunday night to look at my calendar for the week, to make any tweaks I need to make to my income producing activity and my hours for the week. I have pretty set hours because all my kids are in school now. But still, every week, it changes. Some weeks I have lunch with someone. Some weeks I have Family visiting. Some weeks I'm traveling. So I have to look at it and carve out the hours I need each week. And I do that every Sunday night. When I used to have a tighter schedule, when my youngest was still in preschool and I only had a few hours a week to work, every Sunday I would plan out when am I working. And then the next step to this is planning out on Sunday night, who are you going to contact all week long? Come up with your list of people. And that way, when it's time to sit down and work on Wednesday or Thursday, you're not sitting down saying, gee, I wish I knew someone to talk to. Maybe let me just scroll through my Facebook friends, see if I can come up with someone. No, you're sitting down saying, I know the 5 people I'm going to reach out to, and I'm going to do it right now. So use that Sunday to get your head organized. Another healthy habit, 2 3-way calls a week. Just make that a habit. If you are doing 2 3-way calls a week, I guarantee you will start recruiting. I promise, if you bring 2 good qualified 3-way calls every single week to your upline leader, your team will grow. That's all there is to it. So make it a habit. 1 event per month is another healthy habit. Now, sometimes those events are going to be events you host, your BBL, the new product launch that you're going to want to schedule right after convention, things like that. But other times it might be inviting people to a team virtual event. It might be that corporate's in your area and you get to invite guests to that. But having 1 event per month where you can get together and invite people to attend with you, whether virtually or in person, is going to help you grow. That's a great habit. A final habit to work on is to commit to your formula for success. So generally, once you've got those initial reach outs done, we encourage people to figure out what your formula is. And generally what we tell people is think about the 5-3-2 formula. So 5-3-2 means 5 fresh new reach outs per day, 3 follow-ups per day, and 2 reach downs to someone in your team per day. So what does that look like for you? Well, if you're in a high growth mode, you may want to do more than 5 new reach outs a day. It depends on if you're running towards a goal or you really have big plans for this business. Don't let the 5 limit you. On the other hand, you may find that your life is so busy that really your formula is more like 3 new reach outs a day, 2 follow-ups, and maybe 1 reach out to your team. Another tweak to this formula is that some of us don't have a team yet. So with that 2 reach outs to your team, what does that look like? Well, in this instance, maybe your 2 reach outs is 2 reach outs sideways. Reach out to your upline leader or reach out to another consultant. So it's okay to tweak this formula a little bit. It's a numbers game. And over time, you're going to see the results of your effort. So if you're consistently following your formula, 5-3-2 or some other formula you come up with, as long as you're doing it every single day, week in, week out, you will see the growth. Don't compare your pace. So maybe I do 5-3-2, but you only are going to do 3-2-1. That's okay if you're doing it every day. But on the flip side, don't let yourself off the hook. You know your excuse is better than anybody else, but you also know your whys and your goal better than anyone else. So if you want to grow in this business, don't tell yourself, I can only do 1 reach out a day. You can do more than that. I know you can, or you wouldn't have started this business. So don't push too hard. Don't compare too much with everyone else. But on the other hand, don't let yourself off the hook when you need to be pushing. Figure out what your formula is and then commit to it and stick to it. So those are some healthy habits that'll help you grow. Now I want to talk about 3 different areas that if you can master these are going to lead to great success for you long-term in this business. The first is follow-up. So the average person, they say, takes 10 to 12 touches before they're ready to make a decision. 10 to 12 interactions about your product or your business before they can actually say yes or no. Well, knowing that, would it shock you to know that most people give up after the 2nd or 3rd touch? So what's that mean? It means if you can get good with follow-up, if you can stick with it, keep track of who you're talking to and consistently reach back to them, you're going to have a much higher ratio of success long-term than most people have. So I'm going to tell you a few things that will help you with your follow-up. First, find a way to track your reach outs. The two most common ways that I hear, some people like to be old-fashioned, they want a notepad, and that's where I go. I've tried the other way, but this works best for me. I just have a Rodan and Fields notebook that's only for my reach outs. It's only for my prospecting. And every day I write in there everybody I reach out to. Sometimes if I find that I'm having a hard time being organized, I'll have a page that's my reach outs for the week, my goal, and then I'll just, every page after that will be Monday. I'll take names from the week list and put them on the Monday list as I reach out to them. I make notes. This is what she said. This is when I need to follow up with her. I put it in my calendar. If I reach out to someone and they say, oh, I'm busy, call me next week, I'll write that in my notebook, call next week. And then I'll go into my calendar on my phone and write down, call next week. Or sometimes I'll use the paper, like I'll flip ahead to the day that's going to be next Tuesday, and I'll write, remember to follow up with so-and-so. So that's the paper method that works for a lot of people. The other method that works for a lot of people is Excel. Set up an Excel spreadsheet. Remember, 10 to 12 touches. Excel's a wonderful way for you to say, here's Susie Smith. Here's touch number 1 on this date. This is what she said. Here's touch number 2 on this date. This is what she said. Here's touch number 3 on this. Lets you keep track of all the interactions that you're having with that person. And it's also kind of nice because you can see it all right there. You can start to get a feel for if you're really doing the follow-ups you need to do to find success. So step 1 to follow-ups is have a good way to track it. Now, the next question I get a lot about follow-up is, how often do I follow up? I don't want to bug them. I don't want them to start avoiding me, but I don't want to miss out on the gold that's at the end of the rainbow just because I'm not following up. So really, there's no tried and true formula for how much you should follow up with someone and how often. It really depends on the person, and it depends on the interaction you had. You know, obviously, if they said to you, I am really interested, I think I want to order on Friday, you better follow up on Friday, right? So if I said, oh, follow up in 2 weeks all the time, well, in this case, you'd miss the boat. So there's no one answer I can give you for how often to follow up. It really does depend on what you've talked about. But here's a few things to keep in mind. If they give you a specific time, add it to your calendar, make sure you can do it. And you might even check. Like often I'll have someone who'll say, well, I can order on Thursday. I'll pull my calendar out right then and there because if I'm busy Thursday, I don't want to say, okay, yeah, I'll call you Thursday. And then Thursday comes and goes and I forget. So I'll look and say, you know, Thursday's kind of tight for me. Could I call you at 2 o'clock? That's when I'm free. And I'll set an actual appointment to get on the phone and talk with them. Or even I might have to say, could I call you Friday morning instead? And we agree on a time. Other times I'm able to leave it loose, but I still put it in my calendar, even if I don't have an appointment with them. Now, usually people are not quite that specific with when they're going to be ready or when they want to talk with you. So if they don't give you a specific time, you really just have to go with your gut. A general rule of thumb is about 2 weeks is a good time to let it go. Now remember, that's a rule of thumb. If you're getting the feeling from someone that they really want more information, surely don't make them wait 2 weeks. Get it to them tomorrow. But after the first few follow-ups, if you're following up every few weeks, then you might switch over to every month or every couple months because some people are going to take a long time. So get used to that right now and understand it is not you, it's them. Their timing is not your time. You want a big paycheck right now. You want to grow your money so that in September you've got a sweet paycheck coming. They don't care about your September paycheck. They're not trying to hurt your feelings. They're just not ready. So be aware that if they're saying, no, not right now, call me later, it's not that you're doing something wrong. They're just not ready. So respect that and move on to the next person, but keep track of those people so that you can follow up in a couple weeks or a couple months. All right, so the next common question I get about follow-up is, what do I send? Like, what am I supposed to say? Now, if you have someone who's super interested, they tell you, I'm interested in Unblemished. I think I want to order it. Can you send me some stuff? All right, well, that's pretty obvious, right? You need to send some stuff of Unblemished. Maybe a link to your website, a before and after picture, maybe a good video about Unblemished, and your upline leader can help you come up with those specific customized responses. The same with the business. If you have someone who says, I think I'm going to do this with you, send me some stuff, you need to get back to them right away, and your upline leader can help you figure out what you need to send them. But most of our follow-ups are not that specific. Most of the time when you get a request for follow-up, that you may not have even had a request, you're just looping back with them because they're still in your funnel. So here are some things that are good to send. I like to send a before and after picture. If they were looking at a particular regimen, I might wait 2 or 3 weeks and then say, FYI, I just found this great before and after picture, made me think of you. Can't wait to get you started on your product. Let me know when you're ready. That's it. Maybe you share a story. A great resource to follow is our Redefine Your Future blog. You can find that at redefine.rodanandfields, all spelled out, .com. So go there and subscribe to that blog, and every few days you'll get a new story about a consultant. Now these are really handy because as you're working on people joining your team, you'll find that these stories actually start to connect with some of the people in your funnel. So you might find a story and say, oh, this reminds me of Susie. Hey, Susie, read this story, thought of you. And that's a great way to follow up or drip on someone. You might send a note or a text about something personal. So keep in mind that you don't want to just become the Rodan and Fields person. So some of our follow-up is just maintaining the relationship. It's just sending a note that says your kids look so cute on back to school, or your summer vacation looked amazing. Where'd you go to dinner the other night? That picture looked interesting. Just an interaction. Happy Mother's Day. Happy birthday. Something like that. Other good ways to follow up, send a teaser. So that's something like, I heard we might have a good special at the end of the month. Are you about ready to purchase your products? You don't have to tell them what the special is. You're just trying to tease out whether they're ready or not. Offer to send them a sample. Sometimes I'll have people in my funnel that I've talked to several times. They've never even tried our product, and they go kind of quiet. And a great way to get them re-engaged is to say, hey, I just put some samples together. Do you want me to send you one? People almost always say yes to a freebie. Suggest a coffee date. So maybe months ago you talked, nothing's really happened, they've kind of fallen off. Message them and just say, Susie, I was just thinking about you. We should go grab coffee. I would love to chat with you. Share a special. So if you are running a special, that's a great time to reach back with your prospects who said they wanted to wait. You can say, again, something like, got a great month-end deal, wondering if you're interested. I usually don't tell them what the deal is until they respond. Yes, I'm interested. What is the deal? Because again, it keeps that communication going back and forth. Finally, you could ask them for advice. So advice might be just something like, you live in a market that I would love to grow. Could we get together so I could pick your brain? It seems like you know lots of people. So you decide what the language sounds like, but finding a reason to get back in touch with that person, whether it's personal or related to Rodan and Fields, is part of growing and those follow-ups and dripping on them. Be sure you're varying your approach. So don't send them the same interaction 4 or 5 times in a row. It'll start to feel kind of cheesy. And also, if you find that you've sent reach outs multiple times and you're just not getting any traction, nobody's responding to you, then maybe it's time to tweak your wording. So reach out to your upline leader and say, this is what I'm sending for my follow-ups and nobody ever gets back to me. What should I do differently? And chances are they'll have some suggestions for you. The big thing to remember with follow-up is you have to keep doing it. We call it dripping. And the reason we call it dripping is because it's a lot like watering a garden. If you think about seeds, you can plant a whole bunch of seeds. And you can water and water and water and water those seeds. Each interaction that you have with a prospect is kind of like watering a seed. Now, some of the seeds are going to sprout right away, but other seeds are going to take a lot more time, a lot more patience, and a lot more drip, drip, drips of water. So don't get impatient. Keep providing what the seeds need, and eventually, almost all of them will blossom in some way. All right, the next skill that I want you to develop is adding preferred customers and growing volume. Now, when I first started, I understood that preferred customer orders had to be $80 or more. So quickly in my head, $80 became the goal. If I got a preferred customer, they needed to order $80. But think about this. If I added 10 preferred customers, each at $80, I have $800 in sales. If I add 10 preferred customers who each order $150, well, my sales went up to $1,500. That's a big difference. So what I've realized over time is you have to set yourself up right from the start with not just adding PCs, but growing volume as you add PCs. So here are some suggestions I have for you. When you make a recommendation for product, make sure that you're always recommending multiple items. I always start with a combo if it's relevant for them. So the redefine or reverse with the roller. And then I add in 2 or 3 other items that go well with whatever I'm recommending to them. Easy items to add in: microdermabrasion paste. That goes fantastic with Unblemish, Reverse, or Redefine. The peptide powder, beautiful with any regimen. Very popular item to add. Eye cream goes great with any regimen. Lip serum, very popular, especially in the winter when our lips get chapped and flaky and dry. So think about and have ready in your mind 2 to 3 additional items you can add. You also want to start with those combos or promotions. So for instance, right now, I am not recommending to anyone Redefine. I'm always recommending Redefine with the AMP roller so they get the free acute care. Now that special will expire, of course, but there'll be other specials that follow it, and you always want to make sure you're finding those specials. One that a lot of people don't know about is called the Age Assault special. Age Assault is Redefine, night serum, lip serum, and eye cream all together. It costs a PC, I believe, $300, but it saves them about $50 if they, as opposed to purchasing each item separately. So if I recommend Redefine, we always talk about Age Assault. The point is, we experience this all the time. It's called upselling. We experience it all the time when we go shopping ourselves. So we might walk to the register with 3 or 4 items in our hand, and we may decide to put 1 or 2 back, but we'll still buy the other 2 or 3 items. Now, if we only walk to the register with 1 item, we're probably just going to buy that 1 item. So use that as you're working with your customers. Help them think big and then narrow it down to what they want to start with. The other thing that does psychologically is they feel like they're getting a good deal. When you say, okay, here's all the things I'd recommend, the total comes in at about $450, and they say, wow, that's a little more than I can spend. You say, okay, well, what if we did this and this on your next order, and this time you just start with these 2 items, and that would bring it to just $250. Oh, okay, $250 sounds great. Well, they might have come in thinking they were only going to buy a regimen that was going to cost $175. So you've increased your sale, and you've also given them a combination of products that's going to work better for them. So some of growing volume is just language and helping people see how the additional products can benefit them. Another good habit to get into with PCs and growing volume is to make sure you ask for the sale. This is one of the hardest things when we start because we don't want to feel salesy. But if you don't give them the chance to buy, they often will not. When I first started, my very first customer was a good friend of mine. I was super excited to be doing Rodan & Fields. We got together. I told her all about what I was doing, and then that was it. And she said, well, wait a minute. I want to buy some of this stuff. And I was like, you do? Really? Okay. Okay, well, let's look at it. So we pulled it up, and it recommended Redefine and the AMP roller. I tried to talk her out of the AMP roller. I was like, oh, no, you don't want to start with that. You probably should just get the regimen, right? Because it's kind of expensive. So I was doing the opposite of what we're supposed to do. Don't be afraid to let people buy from you. So here are some ways to ask for the sale. After you've given a recommendation, say something like, well, which products do you think you're going to start with? Another phrase that's great is, shall we get your order in today? Your products would arrive around, and tell them when. Give it probably 3 to 4 days, and just say around, because we can't guarantee which day. But it gets them thinking, oh yeah, I do want to get started on this stuff. Another great phrase, when are you thinking you want to get going with these? Another one is to link it to something special that's coming up. You want to think about 2 to 3 months out. So right now it's August. You might say, if we get your order in today, you'll start seeing changes in your skin in time for your Christmas pictures. You might also say in time for Christmas, in time for spring break, in time for summer vacation, in time for your daughter's wedding, whatever they've got coming up, in time for back to school. They're trying to fix something on their skin, so help them visualize how good it's going to feel to have it fixed in time for some big event. Those are all things that can help people say yes right now instead of having to wait. One final question is, have you thought about which card you want to put this on? We take every major credit card. So get them thinking about ordering. Don't make them beg to order from you. A few other tips with PCs and volume. Don't ask them if they want to be a PC. Just do it. And by that I mean you need to explain the terms. I don't just sign people up. But I don't say, well, you could be a PC or you could order this retail. I just give them pricing, and then when it's all done, I say, okay, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to set you up with an account on my website called a preferred customer account. This is going to get you 10% off and free shipping. There's a one-time fee to open the account of $19.95, but don't worry, you're going to save that much in your very first order. This is going to set you up to have products every other month, but you don't have to order. I'll help you manage it. So if you don't ever want something, we can always skip it. So what I'm going to need is just your name and your shipping address, and then we just go from there. So I don't give them the option to order retail because it does not make sense. It doesn't make sense for them. It doesn't make sense for me. So move straight to the preferred customer program. If you find pushback, if you find you're having a hard time getting people to become a PC, get them on calls because your upline leaders can show you the language to use for that. It's very simple, and it doesn't hurt anyone to be a PC. So that's really the only way they should be ordering. Finally, offer specials to help close your customers if you need it. Having a special is a great form of follow-up and dripping. So if you've got someone who's all ready to order and they're telling you, this is what I want, here's my credit card, you don't need to also throw in, and I'll give you one of these for free too. You don't need to do that. You could maybe on their next order send them a thank you gift. Be smart about your business. Don't spend money if you don't have to. But by the same token, if you're willing to spend a little money and have a special, ask them, are you ready to place an order now? They say, I think I need to wait a little. I'm going to think it over. Okay, no problem. Then give it a couple days and text them. Hey girl, there's a special that just came out for the weekend. You think you're ready to order? I can get you some freebies. Then often, if they're ready, they'll get right back to you. Yeah, I want it on these freebies. So use it if you have to. Use it as a way to follow up. Don't just give it away. All right, one final thing I want you to get good at, and that is one of my favorite things to do in this business, lifestyle marketing. Basically comes down to working your business from anywhere with anyone. Every time you leave the house, you are surrounded by potential customers, potential consultants, and potential referral sources. So use it. You need to get really good at just building new relationships and making new friends. The neat thing about this is you can always be growing. When people tell me they're too busy to start this business, I always think it's funny because if you're busy, you're doing exactly what you should be doing to grow a strong business. You want to always have your radar up, looking for new people and new places. I find it's helpful to have a few key phrases that you listen for and then be ready with your comeback. So let's say you're getting together with a group of moms. I'm listening. If people say, gosh, I wish we could afford a vacation, I often will say, yeah, we never used to have money for extras, but Rodan & Fields has helped out a lot with that. And then I move right on. I don't launch into my Rodan & Fields commercial, but I at least throw it out there. A biggie right now, oh my gosh, weren't school supplies expensive? It's ridiculous. And I can say genuinely, that used to stress the heck out of me because that was money we just did not have in our budget. But now I'll say, yeah, totally. I totally agree. We spent so much. My extra paycheck was a huge blessing this month. And then again, move on. You're not going to, and Rodan & Fields paid me this much and I used it for this. And no. You still want to have friends, but you want to start planting some of those seeds when you are out and about. Listen for things like, I don't want to go back to work after this baby, or I sure wish I could be home more. I hate having to drop my kids off at daycare. Those kinds of pain points are great things for you to just kind of throw in that you have a solution. Talk about your work like it's a business. You want people to respect what you're doing. You want them to know that you take this seriously. So people need to know that you're serious about this and you're growing a successful business. This is not just a hobby for you. So make sure when you're talking about prospecting and you're talking about marketing that you talk about this like it's legit. You can find people anywhere. Here's a couple examples, and I'm guessing all of you have at least a few of these in your life. Kids' sports events, school pickup, school drop-off, back to school night, going to the gym, kids stuff. If you have little kiddos, if you take them to the park or the library or Mommy and Me, music, any of those. MOPS, if you go to mothers of preschoolers, any other group that you might belong to. Even if you just go out shopping, you are meeting people. Social events, barbecues, work events, your husband's work events that you go to, any of that is an opportunity to make new friends and meet new people. So how do you do it? For some of us, this is really natural. For others, it is really, really uncomfortable. So I want to give you a few tips for how to do this well. First of all, be friendly and genuine. You are not out to just market your business. Your goal is not to walk away with a new customer or a new consultant. Your goal is to walk away with a new friend. That's it. So strike up conversations, be approachable, put away your phone. If you're that person who's always like this, never making eye contact, nobody wants to talk to you. Or if they did want to talk to you, they couldn't even get your attention. Put your phone in your purse, look around, make eye contact, smile, compliment people. Wow, that's a cute bag. I like your skirt. Your daughter's adorable. You know, whatever it is, find a reason to have a conversation with them. Be someone you would want to talk to. So be careful what you say. Recognize that whatever you say, there's a chance you could be alienating people. And you don't have to be, I don't want you to not be genuine. You need to be who you are. But for instance, our school here in Grand Junction goes back to school very early. Lots of people like to complain about that. But there are some people that like it. They're fine with it. And in fact, they might even be on the school board that made the decision. So when I first meet people, I don't immediately start the conversation with, oh my gosh, can you believe how early we have to go back to school? No, because I don't know. They might think it's a great idea. So I try to stick to topics that are easy to talk about, not offensive, don't cause people to take sides. Then once you've made eye contact, you've connected, you've started talking to someone, just ask lots and lots of questions and listen closely. Work to find connections with that person. Again, you're trying to make a new friend. So what do you have in common with this person? Continue to be genuine. Do not just look at this as, I'm going to figure out a way to work Rodan and Fields into this. That's not your goal. Your goal is to talk to people and make new friends. Some of my favorite questions, and I kind of think about this like a flow chart. Like, you know those little charts that have like a square and a circle? Is the child over 5 years old? Yes? No. Can the child swim without an adult? Yes? No. Can the child float on his back? Right? You do it with swim lessons. There's lots of other times where you've seen those little flow charts. Well, you need to think about this conversation you're having as a flow chart. So here's a couple initial questions, and I find if you get good at these, they can be your flow chart to bring you through a whole conversation. Have you lived here long? Okay, that's a great one, because if they say yes, you say, great. Where'd you go to high school? What did you do? Do you love it here? Where do you live? What part of town? Really dig into what they might know about the community. If they say no, you say, where'd you move from? Now, either answer is exciting to me. If they say they've lived here for a long time, they would probably be a great consultant because I bet they have lots of connections in the community. If they say they just moved here, they would probably be a great consultant because you can grow this business anywhere. So they might have great connections in their old community. You see how that works? You can go either way. It's a good question. Couple more. Do you have kids? Again, lots of follow-ups with that. How old are they? Where do they go to school? Do you love that school? What kind of sports do they play? What extracurriculars? What do you guys like to do in the summer? There's tons of questions you can ask if they say they have kids. Here's another one. What do you do? I like that one because usually they'll ask you, what do you do after you've asked it? But again, lots of follow-ups here. Whatever they tell me, then I'll say, oh, do you love it? Most people don't love their job, so that gives me an opportunity down the road to bring up, hey, I've got something you might love. And then whether they love it or not, I try to learn more about it. So what exactly do you do? What does your day look like? Are you full-time or part-time? Where do you work? It's a conversation. I don't just pepper them with questions, but I try to be interested and learn more about what they're telling me. Another one, what does your husband do? Because sometimes I've found that women are used to communicating through their husband, unfortunately. They're more excited to talk about what their husband does than what they do. So that's a good one to ask. And then another thing, if you're just really uncomfortable with this networking, when you walk into a room, have a topic or a question in mind. So for instance, I love to read. One of my favorites, if I'm kind of not feeling it and I'm thinking, oh, I have to go to this barbecue tonight, I don't want to have to visit with people. All right, so I'm going to just find some new books to read. So I'll just say, you know what, this is crazy, but I need new books to read. So I'm asking everyone I meet tonight if they have a good book recommendation. Do you like to read? Have you read anything good lately? You can ask that for movies. You can ask it for restaurants. We're getting so sick of the restaurants here. Have you tried any good restaurants lately? What are your favorites? Just something to talk about that you can follow up with and ask questions about. All right, so after a few minutes, when you've had a good conversation with them, it's time to leave. Then you need to get their information. You have to find a way to stay in touch with them. The easiest way is often to just say, it's been so much fun to talk with you. We should keep in touch. Are you on Facebook? And then if they are, find them on Facebook and send them a friend request. If somehow Rodan and Fields has come up, then when you're wrapping up, it's okay to say, well, you know, I would love to tell you more about my skincare products. I know we only had a few minutes today, but we should get coffee. The same with the business. You know, we only had a couple minutes to talk, but you would be great at what I do. Maybe we should go meet up for a glass of wine next week. But usually you haven't talked about Rodan and Fields. So what you're trying to do is just continue the relationship. So fun to chat with you. We should get coffee sometime. Are you free during the day? Or our kids had such a great time playing together. We should meet here at the library again. What's your number? I'll text you. And then what I'll do when I get their number, I just put it right in my phone and I text them and say, hey, it's Kristen Donahue. We met at the library today. Great to meet you. That way they have my number too. So just find a simple way. Don't freak them out. You don't have to be like, okay, what's your address and your phone number and your email address and your Facebook name? Because they're going to be like, oh, she's kind of creepy. What you want is just basic information so you can continue that connection with them. Then you can follow up in whatever venue you've set up. If it's kid related, maybe in a couple days you text and say, hey, can we get the kids together? I'm going to the park on Saturday. You want to meet me? If it's business, then you text them and say, hey, let's go get coffee. So find a way to keep in touch and make it one of those follow-ups. Always, if you can, find them on Facebook because then they're seeing your posts and that all on its own is dripping in lifestyle prospecting. So remember, your goal is a new PC or is not a new PC or C. The goal is a new connection. Someone you can build a relationship with, someone who can connect you to others. So this concludes part 4 of our new consultant training for Team Daring Greatly. I hope I've given you some healthy habits that I encourage you to implement. And I also hope I've given you a little bit to think about, some skills that you can hone in following up, adding PCs, and lifestyle prospecting. All of these will serve you well as you continue to dare greatly with our team and grow a successful business. Best of luck.